Glad you're here. I'm glad to be here. Feels like fall today, doesn't it? Getting a little chilly. We were up in the mountains. It got to like 43 this week. Woo! Fall is here. If you're visiting with us, you're our honored guest. We're glad you're here. We're doing something a little different this week. As many of you, the regulars, know, we have retained the services of interim ministry partners, and they're here 3 weeks out of 4. So this is the week that Rob is not here. He will be back with us next week. So I'm going to say a few words, and then we have a very, very special treat. Frances Lee from the Y is here to talk about all things YMCA. She sort of runs the joint around here, you know. So it's good to have Frances and her family here. So as we get into this, like I say, I've got some opening comments to sort of set the stage. As you know, we have spent several months going through what the mission of this church ought to be. We've taken a step back. We've had workshops. We've had surveys. We've surveyed the community. We've surveyed a lot of different groups to figure out. I jokingly say, what do we really want to be when we grow up? What should our mission be? What has it been in the past? And be real honest with ourselves. What's working, what's not. So this was a result of a collaborative effort to figure out what our mission ought to be for this church going forward. And this is where we collectively landed. If you recall, 2 weeks ago, we had an organization in here called Apartment Life. And we asked one question for sure. Who is Apartment Life? Why do I care about these people? What do they do? What does it have to do with me? And what does that have to do with our church? So if you were here, those questions were answered. A great opportunity for us in the NOTA community. A great opportunity, something that clearly fits squarely in our mission, our newly defined mission, right? So another aspect of that mission that we want to highlight today is the YMCA. So let's read this mission together like we did 2 weeks ago. Will you read with me? Our mission is to equip one another to follow Jesus in the communities where we meet and live, making a difference in the lives of our neighbors. We want to reach the young adults moving into NOTA, and we want to serve children and families. We want to grow a dynamic partnership with the YMCA and others in our community and be a church that is focused on the needs of others. So, Francis, our newly formed mission specifically calls out partnership with the YMCA. So I'm not sure we'd shared that with you guys, but that's an important part of who we are. So the second thing we talked about last week, 2 weeks ago, with Apartment Life, not only who are these people and why do I care about them, the challenge that I gave each of us, including me, is what is my personal mission? What am I willing to do to support this mission? This mission will not happen without each of us doing our part. So we talked about that last week, and we just asked people to ask yourself, where do I fit in here? Where do I fit into this newly formed mission? And our goal is for everybody to fit in here somewhere, right? So we talked about dwelling in the Word this morning from Peter about the gifts that God has given us to serve other people. So I think that will resonate with what we're going to hear today. So after I finish my thoughts, Francis is going to come up and share some things about what's going on with the Y, how we collectively or you personally can plug into that. And then Abana and I, if you remember, the two of us serve on the local board here. So Ab and I are going to come up and we're going to play 20 questions we're going to stump Frances, right? We're going to ask her some questions. And the other thing, once we're finished asking a few questions, then we will open it up for you guys to ask any questions you might have as well. Does that make sense? So that's what service sort of looks like today. So I'm going to read, follow along with me, if you will, Romans chapter 12. Verses 6 through 8. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy according to your faith. If it's serving, then serve. If it's teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. So what's the general theme as you read this passage? It's pretty clear to me. We have each been given different gifts. You've got different gifts than I. We all have different gifts. But the charge here to the church in Rome, whatever your gift or gifts are, use them. Don't sit on them. Be active. Use your gifts how you can. Right? Let's look at Matthew chapter 25. Through 30. I think my phone's messing up here. All right. Matthew 25, 14 through 30. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more, but the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold, so I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. Master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came and says, Master, I knew that you're a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. The master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I've not sown and gather where I've not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I return, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more and will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. Tough parable, isn't it? Sometimes Jesus has some hard things to say. But again, what is the message in this parable? You need to invest. You need to put those skills and talents that you've been given to invest, to grow, to help other people, to do more. Right? So that's a common theme we see. The message is clear. God expects us to use the talents and resources He provides wisely for His glory and for the benefit of others. All right, two more. Let's look at Colossians chapter 3. Verses 23 and 24. Colossians 3, 23 and 24. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord. Not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for their wrong, and there is no favoritism. So as we are putting our talents and gifts to work, serving other people, who are we really doing it for? It says, do it with all your heart. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. I don't know that I always think about that. When I'm serving other people, I'm really serving the Lord. And to do it with all our heart. Make it a priority in our life, right? All right, last one. Let's look at Ephesians chapter 2. Verse 10. Ephesians 2, verse 10. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do what? Good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do what? Good works, which God prepared us in advance for us to do. He was preparing us work for you to do before you were even born. This is not an afterthought. So again, sort of the theme is we've spent a tremendous amount of time crafting our mission, and the challenge is for all of us to think about how we fit into that mission and what is our personal mission and how can we support this. So again, another connection to our mission and vision is this YMCA. So Francis, come on up here. I've known Francis a long time. She, like I say, she sort of runs the joint around here. So, gotten to know her. She's a second mom here recently. I always ask her when I talk to her, you getting any sleep, you know?
Firm few, but we're still making it work.
Making it work. All right.
Good morning, Noda Church.
Down makes it go forward. I am so.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Brother Mike. Good morning, church. I am so happy to be before you. You know, Jesus is near and dear in everything to me and my family. My husband, Calvin, he's out with our baby girl, Simone, and Celeste is partaking in wonderful ministry in the children's space. So thank you for having us. So I am really here to talk about the YMCA. But not just the YMCA, but also how does the YMCA connect with Noda Church? Because you all have a wonderful ministry here in which you all meet and have been meeting for years within the community. And so we really just want to be more intentional in how we're also serving you all. just to give a little background about me, I am Frances Lee. I'm the operations director. So what does that mean? All of the departments that we have here at the Johnston YMCA connects to me. So all of our leaders, all of our team members connects to me as the leader. I always say alongside or connect with, because I cannot do this work by myself. So that's what the operations entails. Press down. Okay. When I think about where I was October of 2023, I was in a different space. We were in a different space. I was originally hired on to be the one to close down the Johnston YMCA. Very sad, I know. Trust me, it was no easy task. As summer camp closed out, I then had to transition to what does that look like and figure out where our team then transitions to. Very, very, very heavy task to accomplish. But I received wonderful news in September of 23 that we were not going to be closing and that I needed to hurry up and transition to how do we keep operating? How do we not close our doors, and how do we keep our members coming in, our community coming in? And that too was a challenging task because people were still processing the closure news that came out in May of 23. And so to now go back and say, okay, just kidding, we're open, has been the bigger challenge in all of this. So with our operations, we have remained open. We have not closed down. If anything, we've increased operations in some of our programs like pool hours, group exercise offerings. We actually, I'll talk about later on, but even in our youth development space, how do we serve more intentionally for our youth? So that was a bit of a task to then transition and keep the doors open. So program updates, I would say this. We are currently offering swim lessons. Our pool is a little bit colder than we would like for our youth. So we are currently having our swim lessons for the end of October at the Dowd YMCA. However, it is our team that is facilitating the swim lessons. And so in November, our goal is to bring them back to Johnston so that we can continue to teach our youth safety around water. I also want to let you know that our swim lessons are not just open from, little babies to teenagers, but also we do adult swim lessons as well. So if you're an adult and you're like, hey, I'd love to learn how to swim, never too late. So please sign up for our lessons. Everything is available online in terms of for our swim lessons. And then I'll go into more detail regarding our youth development program. So this was just our agenda. So we can go to the next one, please. Our beautiful Y. So I wanted to give you all just a brief idea of what our team looks like here at the Johnston YMCA. So like, who is it that I need to talk to about this or that kind of thing? So at the top, we have Joe Angelon. Joe Angelon is our Senior Vice President of Operations. He has been the one that's kind of been leading us for the past few years. And so he was the one that was also having to keep me informed on where we were operationally, whether it was the closure, the keep opening and what's to come after that. He's been my confidant, and when I'm not sure of, different questions or things like that, I can always lean on him. Then there's me. I'm the operations director, so I'm here every day. Outside of, usually on the weekends, I try to connect with my family. We have Christy Matthews. I'm sorry, I might be pressing stuff. Let me put this down. Oh, thank you. So we have Christy. She is our Director of Programs and Community Engagement. So that is a new role that we have here. And what that entails is she is over our Johnston Center of the Arts, formerly known as our youth development. And then her role also connects with community partners. So we wanted to make sure that we had a role that was actually intentional in connecting with the community and providing updates and just being more a part of what we have. So Ken Porter, or Kenneth, you all may see often. He is the most familiar face out of all of us because he's been here for 3+ years. So he runs our membership and fitness experience. So he's the one that keeps our members coming in, making sure our participants know where they're going. If you have fitness goals, like, he's your guy. And then his team is broken down with Tia. She works our front desk, but she's our coordinator for membership. She usually can answer any questions you may have regarding membership promos and things of that nature. We also have Noah Moore. He's over our fitness department. And so he is like, if you need to get in contact with our personal trainer, if you have fitness goals you want to obtain, he's your guy. And then we also have Miss Sheila. She's our membership lead. She also connects with Tia to make sure your questions are answered. And then on the other side, we have Lindsay Ellis. She's our Group X director. We have Brenna Nash. She's our aquatics coordinator, so she's all things in our water. And then Noah, he is our facilities specialist. So this is the Johnston team. And then we have some association partners. Ben Pinniger, he is like our Joe. So we have like 2 SVPs that we can connect with if we have questions or just anything of that nature. Dalton Moore does our financial development, which is our fundraising, which is, so important. Heather Stolman is our senior finance director. And then Farah is our HR business partner. So although it looks like we have quite a bit of people in different spaces, we'd love to see more. We'd love to see more. But, this is our team, small but mighty. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit more into the operations. So 1, we're still here. That's important, right? So we are still here. So what has that meant? So when I was given the task that we were going to stay open, the one phrase that was given to me was business as usual. So almost take whatever it was that we were intending to do with the closure and actually keep everything operating. So keep the doors open, keep the programs running, making sure that, the community is aware of what we have going on and that we are still open. I would like to say that is one task that we have been able to manage as well as we have, but there's one piece to it that we still have challenges with, and that is the fact that we are still open. That messaging gets so lost in all that we do because we have so many community members that still believe either the Y is closed or we're closing or when are we closing, those kind of things. And so we constantly find ourselves associated with the narrative of being closed. So if you're ever in the community and you hear someone say, well, isn't that the Y that's closing or closed or something, please correct them. We are absolutely open. We are committed to being in the know of community, and the goal here is that we will continue to operate, okay? Hear me out loud. We are continuing to operate. So come on through, see about our programs. We are here. So our beloved oak tree, that is another topic of discussion. So the oak tree out front is a very historical part of our property. And we always make sure that we are doing our due diligence to keep it up and healthy and all those different pieces. And so recently we went through some pruning of the tree because it was dropping limbs at inconvenient times, such as when you all were having movies on the lawn. And so we wanted to make sure that we were providing safety for you first. And so we went to an arborist that's very familiar in the community and had him to assess the tree to, just find out like, okay, is the tree healthy? Like, what should we do type of thing? And the report was that the tree is healthy. It's just a matter of she's spread out so much that the more traction we have on our lawn can agitate her. and that can increase the amount of limbs that she might drop. So if you see the fencing, it is for safety. It is not for decoration or any of that nature. We just want to keep her happy so that she keeps her arms intact. So that was another piece that I wanted to throw out there. So I talked about some of our program offerings, like our swim lessons. Our swim lessons run all throughout the year. I think the only time we actually take a break is like the holiday time. We give our aquatics team some rest during, the Christmas time so they can reset. But otherwise, from January all the way through November, we are operating swim lessons. And that is the plan moving forward, is that they will continue to operate. Our group exercise classes, we have quite a bit. So we have, depending on what your level of style is, whether it's yoga, whether it's high intensity, we have things like group step. We have mixed fit. We have strength and conditioning. Those are just to name a few. We always keep our schedule out in the hallway across from the front desk. If you're interested in, like, what are the offerings, what, might you be interested in? We have a director, but also our front desk team can also answer any questions you might have in our group exercise space. And then in the membership space, Happy Clergy Appreciation Month, we are running a promo for the Y that anyone who is of clergy gets 1 month free on us, just as a thank you for serving the community and just all that you do. Being a leader in the church is not easy, and so, it's just a small appreciation to say thank you to those leaders. So, come check us out, ask questions. We just want to make sure that you all have all the updated information that you have in terms of what's going on at the Johnston YMCA. We are very much alive and running, and that's what we intend to do. So, next slide. Okay, the Johnston Center of the Arts. So this actually came about as we had to actually close down youth development. That was the only department during the closure that actually was shut down. And the reason is we weren't sure we basically just didn't want to do a disservice to the community and having them to find childcare in the last hour. We did not want to do that, and so we went ahead and just shut all those departments down. With that, you can imagine created some not so happy families, because in the last minute, when most programs have already, closed their registration, they're now having to figure out where to place their children for after school, for preschool, and those kind of programs. And so, kind of took some time for us to figure out, okay, we don't want to do what we've been doing. Like, we've got to do something different. So we wanted to rebrand our youth development. And where we landed at was the Johnston Center of the Arts. Why the Johnston Center of the Arts? Well, because we're in the Arts District. And what we found is that it's not enough to just provide programs. It's better to provide intentional programs that meet community needs. And so with arts, there's a lot of different things that go into that. Our programs are geared towards social-emotional learning, mental wellness. We do mindfulness exercises. We do journaling. We infuse all different techniques that our little artists can learn and cultivate in their little creativity world and exploration. So we wanted to make sure that our program also was quality, good quality. How do we do that? Well, we bring in specialists. We have actual professional teachers who facilitate our art programs. So it may be elementary school teachers. We have artists in the community that have connected in our space. So we really try to be intentional about not just having our kiddos and give them pen and paper and say, hey, draw something. It's more of like facilitating to understand, okay, what do you feel when you do this? What are you thinking about? How do we create more of this? So that is our Johnston Center of the Arts, and these are some of our kiddos from summer camp. Got a great summer camp season, and we intend to have many more. And so this was them putting on their first production. They created everything from the stage to the costume to the actual play in which they acted out. And then on the other side is an actual mural that they created themselves. And where's the Johnston Center of the Arts? It's actually on the lower level in the long hallway right next to the fitness floor. We have about 4 classrooms, and then there's another classroom by the elevator. So that is where our Johnston Center of the Art and where the magic takes place in terms of the creativity that our kids have. Right. So currently we have registration for fall programs. Our fall programs are enrichment programs. We didn't get the green light to do our traditional like after school or preschool, but we are looking forward to 2025 because we have been given the green light there to expand out more of what we're offering. So when I say we are invested in what it is that we need, the ways that we need to serve our community, that's what it looks like. This doesn't sound like a center that's closing, but a center that is looking to thrive even more in the spaces that we've been in. So please, sign up your kids and tell a neighbor or 3. We would love to have them come and be a part of what we're doing here. Okay, so volunteerism. I just wanted to throw out just a few ways that if you're interested in volunteering with the Y. Currently, we have the Fall Festival, in which Know the Church will actually be a part of because you all always serve in the candy crawl. So we tacked on our Fall Festival to the candy crawl, which is the neighborhood trick-or-treating. Since what we found last year, a lot of the families kind of just ended up congregating at Johnston, like once things were slowing down with the event. So we were like, hey, they're already coming to us. Let's serve them even more while they're here. So now we're doing the Fall Festival on October 27th at 4 p.m. So if you're interested in volunteering, please feel free to connect with either me or Christy, and we'll let you know what opportunities are there. So volunteer coaches. So we do sports, typically every season but summer. Upcoming we have is basketball. So we are looking for volunteer coaches there. If you're interested, we have a flyer at the front desk with a QR code. You can just scan that, and it'll take you right where you need to go in order to sign up for our basketball season. We also do soccer and flag football in the fall and the spring. So if you're interested, please help us out. And then the end of the year celebration for staff. I mean, our team has been through an immense amount of things, given so much transition and where are we at, kind of that in limbo space. So this year we want to do an end of the year celebration for them, just to really celebrate how much they mean to us and just how they serve each and every one that walks through the doors, whether you're a member or a participant or someone just wanting to ask questions. We are here, and so we want to celebrate them. We're going to have some meetings here soon to just kind of figure out what that can look like. But those are just some ways, if you're interested in kind of volunteering, that we have here at the Y. All right, Q&A.
I'll repeat that for anyone who didn't hear it, but the fencing that's around the tree out in the front yard, is that going to be a permanent thing, or is it more so until the tree gets more pruned so that there's less risk of branches falling?
Great question. So the current fencing is going to evolve into a nicer fencing, but we are going to remain with fencing around the tree just to protect her. It's really for you all's well-being as well as making sure that the tree gets what she needs. And so the amount of traffic that we sometimes have with the events and things like that, that creates more of an irritation to the roots of the tree because they extend far beyond what we can even see under the ground. So it'll just turn into a nicer fencing. We're actually, hopefully we'll get that here soon, and then that fencing will remain.
Anybody else in the audience with a question?
Here you go, Francis.
Oh, I got a chair. Okay, I love it. Nope, all good.
Well, you asked a question that I had, so thanks. So, for instance, you talked a little bit about the programs that will be offered to children for after school and that kind of thing. Is there any plan to make available more robust child care offerings like we did through the Child Development Center going forward?
So we currently don't have buses. We ended up giving those away to otherwise that needed busing. Ideally, our buses were being very underutilized even during when we were running our after-school programs or summer camp. So there are programs that children really are without even more transportation than we were seeing. So we just did our due diligence and let them borrow our buses. If in the event we needed a bus, we always have access to one. But our goal is to create some more programs in the youth development space for the Johnston Center of the Arts that will meet the needs of child care.
All right. One question. If you read, we've talked a lot about Know to Church's mission today. If you read the Charlotte YMCA's mission statement, the Y's mission is to put Christian principles into practice through programs that build healthy spirit, mind, and body for all. So when we first planted this church many, many, many years ago, one of the things that was very attractive about partnering with a YMCA and meeting in a YMCA is that the mission of the Y is Christian as well. So there's a good synergy there. So any suggestions for us? You've got a Y with a Christian-based mission. You've got a church, obviously, with a Christian-based mission. How can we both collaborate and leverage each other's presence, if you will, to promote sort of Christian principles in the Know to community?
Absolutely. Great question. So I would say, how do we do that? I think about we each have a community that we're serving, and we're serving, if not the same people, right? So identifying like what those needs are that need service. So, for example, we had Hurricane Helena, who came and just wreaked havoc in the western part of the state. That is an opportunity for the YMCA and Know to Church to say, okay, how do we combine efforts to make sure that we are providing service to those that are currently without? So I think creating more opportunities where we are truly connected. Some of the things that we've talked about is, one, having more visible presence even during Y operation hours. So it could be through small little things like having more marketing so that we're letting people know, hey, we've got a church here and these are the times of their operations. These are the things that they have coming up. Being more intentional in when we're planning community events, not planning like as YMCA is the host, but more so like aligning our efforts so that we're planning together and we're reaching more people. I really think it just comes down to just us as the Y being more intentional about making sure that we're connected to what you all are doing, and then you all as the church being more connected to what we have going on at the Y, because ultimately our efforts combined, we can make an extreme impact on the community.
And we've started back. We did this for years and years and years, and COVID got us mixed up. But we've started back having a monthly check-in between the church and the Y, and that's a good connection point. Added them to our little weekly email that Gene sends out. The Y is connected on that as well. So that's another little touch point.
So you included a slide in your deck about volunteerism. Is that really the space where the Y has the greatest need right now?
I would say yes. We always need volunteers. Every other month, the Johnston does a food share. And so we always need volunteers for that. We currently have members of the community who are without homes, and they come to the Johnston Y to take showers and just clean themselves up. We don't require them to have a membership. They just have to have identification of some kind. And we welcome them to use our showers. And so, we're already serving in some spaces that you all could just, connect with us on and just really provide that support that you do.
So I know you said that there are there is information out in the lobby about the basketball coaching, for example. Can you give us an idea of what the commitment would be like for a person who might be interested in coaching basketball?
Absolutely. So usually what happens is with any youth development program, there is like a background check. So you go through our Volunteer Matters website, and you sign up, and it will do a background check on you, and that's just for the safety and protection of the children which we serve. And the commitment, once you get through that process, is really around, figuring out, you practice once a week, and then you'll have a game on usually Saturday. If you have the older groups, they do at the end of the season have like tournament play, and then it would result in like a championship. So those games are a little more increased, but usually it's a twice a week commitment to coach any of our sports.
So you mentioned that Hurricane Helene, just disaster everywhere. I've been up in that area a couple of times in the last few weeks, and it's like a war zone. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. I know you guys have a partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank, and we've partnered with you on that to a degree. Is that still active? Is that still going? Say more about that.
Yes. So we just had a food share, that's what we call it, and they Okay, no, Mike's good. Okay, they go by Nourish Up, and so our next food share is November 18th, and it's from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. And what that entails is usually we'll have the food bank to come with their truck. They provide everything, the food, the tables, the tents. We have the cars lined up a specific way in the parking lot. We have people who actually make sure that everyone receiving food is registered, so we know how many baskets they need for us to give out. And then those that are preparing the baskets, it's like an assembly line. It's like, okay, you've got fruit, you've got vegetables, you've got cans, you've got meat. So we're all working together to make sure that those baskets get filled up and sent on their way to those families in need.
All right, one more from you, and then we'll open it up to the audience.
Well, I wanted to ask about the elephant in the room.
About what?
The elephant in the room.
Which is?
The MetroWise plans for this space. What can you tell us about that, Francis?
Sure. So I can say that. I can't say too much, but what I can say is that our CEO is invested in keeping the Johnston YMCA open and operating. And with that, more plans are to come. I know a bit about them, but I can't tell them until they're public knowledge. But she will tell you, if you asked her, that she is committed to the Johnston Y remaining open.
Yay. That's our vote.
You're welcome.
To the extent we get a vote, that's our vote.
Yes. Mine too.
All right. Question.
Anything else from the room? You're going to go from the mic back there?
Francis, thank you for being here today.
Hello.
As you know, we are looking to have a new minister come in. That should hopefully before the end of the year. And one thing that's very, very important to us that this next minister will be very active and engaged with the Y here. So what's very, very important is accessibility and visibility. And before you got here, or with our previous minister, he didn't have like a official office place. We have an office that we use for storage behind the stage. It's definitely not visible and it's not accessible to people. But so how are we can we do that differently going forward when this new minister comes in?
Absolutely. And so Johnston had an immense amount of space. Our goal would be when the new pastor begins to kind of take them around and just look at what spaces we have available and give him the option to select where he feels he can be visible at. Brother Mike and I, we've talked about that because that's an important piece, and I feel like that's that link that we sort of need to kind of push us forward in our partnership, is having that constant visible person that we can just, if someone's got questions about Know the Church or just maybe just in need of prayer. Sometimes we've had people to just come here just needing something, not quite knowing what it is, So ideally, we'd love to be able to connect them with the pastor and them to minister to them. Like we want to bring in as much Jesus as we can, ultimately. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I think Taylor and then Donald.
I had a couple questions. My first one was when they announced that it wasn't, or that the development or whatever fell through, they announced that it was like still for sale though. So is that still the case? Because I think that might be why a lot of people think that it's like closing soon still.
About the Johnston Y, we have so much history upstairs in one of our offices. And one of the things that stand out is the amount of times they have tried to close this YMCA. It's wild. So with that, we are not in a space where it needs to be circumstantial. When that decision was made, it had a lot to do with our business operations prior to COVID and then once COVID happened. Having to close down our operations completely really hit us in a financial space. And so it was trying to figure out, what are the things that could help us to really just salvage our business. The idea was lessening the footprint, which is not great to hear, but ultimately that's where we sort of landed as a business is lessening the footprint, and that would be closing more centers so that we don't have as many to operate. But I will say the operators across the YMCA of Greater Charlotte has done an immense, amazing job in just really trying to pull together and make sure that that's not where we're headed. Our new CEO is very committed in helping us to get to more sustainability without having to continue to close YMCAs. More along the lines of venturing to other opportunities that could really help us with our financial portfolio.
And I'll note, when she says that the operations have some deficits, that's not about this Y in particular. This Y has always been one that covered its own programs. It's about the YMCA of Greater Charlotte's larger need for budget.
Absolutely. Thank you, Avna.
Thank you. And then also the clergy promo, is that for Noda Church?
It is for clergy and life. So absolutely, you have the opportunity to partake. Just stop by our membership desk and we'll take care of you.
All right, Donald.
Thank you for being here today, Ms. Francis. I want to circle back to the comment made about the space being made available for the community to come and self-care here. My questions are, when they come, are there enough supplies made available for them for self-cleaning? And two, is there an opportunity for them to be able to wash their clothes when they're here and dry them as that occurs?
Great question. So we do the best we can with trying to keep hygiene kits and things like that. But they get costly, in all honesty. And so we do ask that if that's a space that you all could really help us with, like we welcome that. We want to make sure that when they come in these doors, they leave out better than when they came in. And sometimes it's just being able to just cleanse themselves of the day-to-day that they go through. And then it's also an opportunity, when I think about the pastor, I think, it's an opportunity to even connect with him. So we would love actually to have that as a part of it.
We've shared with her some of the work we did with the school for hygiene kits, for lack of a better word. We talked about potentially we could do that and have them sitting behind the desk here at the YMCA. We've talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. Thank you. And lastly, do your metrics indicate if it's more men or women that circulate for that need?
I would say we probably have more men to come through. We do have women, but I know, and we have regulars. We have some that just regularly come through. And so we've gotten to know them and, we get to know them as people and just their walk of life. And so we do tend to see more men than female. Absolutely.
Last call. Francis, thank you so much. This has been
Absolutely.
great. I miss us doing this every year.
I'll
Big
come
round.
back, y'all.
Thank you,
Y'all just let
Francis.
me know.
All right. Donald, close us out, brother.
All right, let us all be standing. Word.